Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to study our first unit of strength of material. Our first unit is simple stresses and strains. Let's start. First of all, we will study some mechanical properties of material. So first property is strength. So what is strength? The ability of a material to resist its failure under the action of load is called as strength of material. Next property is elasticity. The property by virtue of which a material regains its original shape and size after removal of external load is called as elasticity. The best example of this elasticity is rubber band. If we stretch a rubber band, what happens is the size and shape of rubber band changes, and as soon as we remove the force, the rubber band comes to its original shape and size. This property of the rubber band is called as elasticity. Next property is plasticity. The property by virtue of which a material undergoes permanent deformation without failure on application of external load is called as plasticity. What happens in the plasticity is, if we apply a force on a material, then its size and shape changes. But when we remove the force, the material does not regain its original shape and size. This property is called as plasticity. Next property is stiffness. The resistance of a material to elastic deformation under the action of external load is called as stiffness. Our next property is malleability. It is a property of a material by virtue of which the material can be beaten up into thin sheets without cracking when hammered. The example for this property is iron or steel. Means we can make thin sheets of iron by hammering it. That property is called as malleability. Our next property is ductility. It is the property of material by virtue of which the material can be drawn into thin wires on application of tensile load. The best example of the ductility is gold. We can draw or we can change the shape of a gold into wire by applying a tensile load, and this process may be very easy. Our next property is brittleness. It is a property of material due to which the material can be directly broken without any deformation. This means in this property, or in case of this property, there is no change in the shape. The material directly broken down without any deformation. And our next property is hardness. The ability of a material to resist wear, scratching, abrasion, cutting, or indentation, that is penetration by harder bodies, is called as hardness. These are some mechanical properties of material. Now we will see what is stress. A force of resistance offered by the body against deformation per unit cross-sectional area is called as stress. In other words, we can say that the stress is the internal resisting force per unit cross-section area. It is denoted by the letter sigma, and its unit is Newton per millimeter square or Newton per meter square. Here is the diagram. The figure A shows a bar subjected to a tensile force P at its both ends. Means, as shown in figure A, what we are doing is we are applying a tensile force P on both ends of a bar. Due to this application of tensile force, just consider that this bar gets divided into two parts through a section XX, which is denoted by this dotted line. Now we have two parts. One is the left hand side part and other is right hand side part. So both the left and right side parts, or both the sections will be in equilibrium if the applied force P is equal to the internal resisting force as shown in figure B and C. If this internal resisting force is perfectly equal to the applied force P, then only the whole bar will be in equilibrium. So therefore we can say that the stress, how we can calculate the stress? The stress equal to internal resisting force divided by area of cross section, or in other words we can also say that the stress is equal to applied force divided by area of cross section. So mathematically we can say that sigma is equal to P by A, where sigma is stress, P is the applied force, and A is the area of cross section. Now, types of stresses. There are three types of stresses: tensile stress, compressive stress, and shear stress. We will see these types one by one. First, tensile stress. When a body is subjected to two equal and opposite pull forces, then the stress induced is called as tensile stress. What is tensile stress? When we apply a pull force, when we apply a pull force in two equal and opposite directions, then the stress induced in that body is called as tensile stress. This tensile stress is considered as positive while calculations. Here in this diagram we can see that on the bar we are applying a pull force, that is tensile force P, on the both ends. Our next type of stress is compressive stress. So what is compressive stress? When a body is subjected to two equal and opposite push forces, then the stress induced is known as compressive stress. So what we have done in tensile stress, we just applied a pull force at both the ends, and in compressive stress what we are doing, we are applying push force at both the ends, and the compressive stress is considered as negative during calculations. Our third type of stress is shear stress. When a body is subjected to two equal and opposite tangential forces, or we can say that, or in other words we can say, when a body is subjected to, what we can say in other words, that when a body is subjected to two equal and opposite tangential forces or the transverse forces which tends to shear off body across the section, then the stress induced at the section is called as, or is known as, shear stress. Look at here, this is the plane, and here we are applying tensile load on the both ends as shown in figure A, that means before shear. And after applying load, what happens? The connecting material, that is screw gets shear off, as shown in figure B, that is after shear. So this type of shear is called as shear stress, or this type of stress is called as shear stress. It is denoted by tau. So the shear stress is equal to shear force divided by shear area, and mathematically it is equal to tau divided by A. Next, strain. What is strain? When a body is subjected to some external force, then there is some change in the dimension of the body. Means if we apply any type of force, whether it may be tensile or compressive, if we apply a force or any external force on a body, there is some change in the dimension of the body takes place. So the ratio of change in dimension to the original dimension of that body is known as strain. It is denoted by letter E and it has no unit. So how we can calculate strain? Strain is equal to change in dimension divided by original dimension of that particular material. These are the types of strains. There are mainly three types of strains: tensile strain, compressive strain, and third one is shear strain. We will look it one by one. First one is tensile strain. The ratio of increase in length to the original length is known as tensile strain. Why there is increase in length? Because we are in this case, or in case of tensile stress, what we do, we apply a pull force, and as we apply a pull force, what happens, the length of material increases and cross section gets decreases, as shown in the figure. So what is tensile strain? The ratio of increase in length to the original length is known as tensile strain. As like tensile stress, tensile strain is considered as positive. And how we can calculate it? Delta L divided by L. What is delta L? Delta L is the change in length or increase in length, and capital L is the original length of the particular material. Next type of strain is compressive strain. The ratio of decrease in length to the original length is known as compressive strain. In tensile strain there is increase in length, and in case of compressive strain there is decrease in length, because what we do in case of compressive strain stress, we apply a push force, and due to push force what happens, the length of material decreases and cross section increases, as shown in figure. So the ratio of decrease in length to the original length is known as compressive strain. As like compressive stress, compressive strain is considered as negative. It is also calculated by the formula delta L divided by L, where delta L is the decrease in length and capital L is original length of that particular material. Third type of strain is shear strain. When a body is subjected to shear stress, then the corresponding strain developed is known as shear strain. It is a very simple definition. If a particular body is subjected to shear stress, then the strain induced in that body is called as shear strain. It is denoted by phi. Here is the diagram. Here what we are doing, we are applying the force in transverse direction. Means the change in length is in the direction of application of force. Besides, what happens in the tensile and compressive strain? We are applying force perpendicular to the face of body, right? Or the change in length is perpendicular to the direction of the application of force in case of tensile strain and compressive strain. But in case of shear strain, the application of force or the direction of force and the direction of strain is same. So the shear strain is calculated by the formula transverse distortion divided by original length. That means now here change in length is A to A dash, because at the first stage what we are having the material ABCD, and on that material we have applied a force towards right. Then what happens? The position of the points at A and B changes. The position at D and C remains constant because these are fixed, and the position of body or the material at A and B changes, and the material goes in a shape A dash, B dash, CD. So the strain is A dash and B dash. This is the shear strain. So how we can calculate the change in length or the shear strain? A dash divided by AD. Why? Because A dash is change in length and AD is the original length, or BB dash divided by BC. Now elastic limit. There is a limiting value of force up to which or within which the deformation completely disappears on the removal of the force. Even though there is a property of elasticity, but each and every elastic material has some limit. We have seen the example for elasticity, that is rubber band, but for the rubber band there is some limit for that elasticity property of that rubber band. If we apply or if we are continuously applying force, at some point the rubber band will get break. That breaking stress will be the elastic limit of that rubber band. So what is elastic limit? Elastic limit is a limiting value of force up to which or within which the deformation completely disappears on the removal of force. The value of stress corresponding to this limiting force is known as elastic limit of that material. Beyond this elastic limit, the material gets into plastic stage. And what is plastic stage? The material does not regain its original size and shape after removal of the external force. This is the elastic limit. Our next point is Hooke's law. So what is Hooke's law? Hooke's law states that when a material is loaded within its elastic limit, when a material is loaded within its elastic limit, the stress produced is directly proportional to the strain produced in that body. This means stress is directly proportional to strain, that is sigma is directly proportional to E. Now if we have to vanish this sign of directly proportional, what we do, we will add a constant on the right hand side. So what we will get the equation sigma is equal to constant multiplied by E. So what we'll get, the constant is equal to sigma divided by E. So basically what is Hooke's law? Hooke's law states that when a material loaded within its elastic limit, then stress produced is directly proportional to the strain produced. That's it. our next point is stress strain curve for ductile material. We know that ductile material, what is ductile material? A material or a property of material by virtue of which the material can be drawn into thin wires. That property is called as ductility. So here is a stress strain curve shown in figure. There are some points like A, B, C, D, E, F on the curve. Some points are shown on this curve. What are these points actually? We are going to see now. First one is proportional limit. So point A is called as proportional limit. Point A in this graph, point A is called as proportional limit. In portion OA, the stress strain curve is a perfectly straight line. Look at the portion O to A. This portion is a perfectly straight line. That means up to point A, stress strain curve obeys Hooke's law. Means from point O up to point A, the curve obeys the curve obeys Hooke's law. And now beyond this point A, the curve slightly deviates from the straight line. Look at here. Beyond point A up to point B, the curve slightly deviates from the straight line. So our next point is elastic limit. Point B is called the elastic limit. Here in this diagram, point B is called as elastic limit. So what is this elastic limit? In this portion AB, the material behaves in elastic manner. What happens in AB? In portion AB or from point A to point B, the material behaves in elastic manner. What does it means? Means the material regains its original shape and size after removal of external force. So beyond point B, the material, where it will go? The material will go in plastic range. Beyond point B, the material will go in plastic range. So our next point is then upper yield point. Upper yield point. Point C is the upper yield point in this curve. Point C is the upper yield point in this curve. So first of all, what is yield point? We have to know the concept of yield point. So yield point is the point at which the strain goes on increasing even though the stress decreases. What is yield point? Yield point is a point at which the strain goes on increasing even stress is decreasing. This point is known as yield point. And in this diagram or in this curve, the point C is upper yield point. Point C is upper yield point. So in portion BC, there is appreciable increase in strain even though there is no increase in stress. Means stress is not increasing. We are not increasing stress. That means we are not applying any other force. Even though we are not applying any force, then also the strain goes on increasing. That is called as yield point. The stress at point C is called as yield stress. The point C is the upper value of the stress because there are two yield points, upper yield point and lower yield point. So point C is the upper yield point, and now there is lower yield point, that is point D. Point C is upper yield point and point D is lower yield point. Point D is lower yield point. Then next point is ultimate stress point. Ultimate stress point. In this curve, point E is the ultimate stress point. So in portion DE, there is increase in stress and strain till point E, due to which a neck-like portion forms. What happens? From D to E, the stress and strain both are increasing continuously, and due to this increase in stress and strain, a neck-like structure is formed in the material. What is this neck-like structure? Due to this neck-like structure formation, what happens? The cross-sectional area at that particular section goes on decreasing. What happens? The cross-section area decreases. The stress at point E is called as ultimate stress, and this ultimate stress is the highest stress. This ultimate stress is the highest stress in this stress strain curve. And at last, there is a breaking point. Breaking point. Here point F is the breaking point. Point F is the breaking point. As a neck-like structure is formed, and due to this neck-like structure, what is going to happen? There is continuously decrease in the cross-section area at that particular section, and at certain limit or at certain force, the material gets break or the material gets fail. So at this point, the actual rupture of the specimen occurs. The material or the specimen get ruptured. So in portion EF, the cross-sectional area of the specimen goes on decreasing, length goes on increasing, and ultimately the specimen broken into two pieces at point F. So the stress at point F is called as breaking stress. This is all about the stress strain curve for ductile material. This is the very important question from the exam point of view. So always remember this question and this point and concept of stress strain curve for ductile material. Our next point is stress strain curve for brittle material. What is brittleness? What is brittleness? We have just seen the brittleness means there is change in the the material gets broken down without any deformation. That property is called as brittleness. So this is the curve for stress strain curve for brittle material. There are only 2 points. First is proportional limit and second one is breaking point. As like in stress strain curve for ductile material, in brittle material also there is a proportional limit from point O to A. It is same. But our next point, which is B, that point B is breaking point. Point B is the breaking point in case of brittle material. At this point, what happens? The material fails with only little elongation after the proportional limit exceeded. The breaking stress is same as ultimate stress, and in brittle material, stress at this point is considered as maximum stress. This is the concept behind the stress strain curve for brittle material. Here is a formula for the change in length delta L. We have got the formula for delta L, that is PL upon AE. PL upon AE. where P is the applied force, L is the original length, A is the area of cross section, and capital E is the modulus of elasticity. And here are some unit conversions. Just go through these unit conversions. Thank you.